to another live. I hope that you guys are doing well and staying safe, and also happy Easter to those of you that celebrate Easter. I hope that you guys are enjoying it with your family and friends, or if you are by yourself, hopefully, you're doing some self care or just some self meditating. Um, some self appreciation, some self gratitude, and stuff like that. So, yeah, you guys, I want to go ahead and get right into the topic. I want to talk a little bit more about parentification. Excuse me. And I also wanted to talk about enmeshment. Now, I'm sure you guys heard me talking about parentification in the previous video that I did last week. It was brought up on the live that I did on Instagram. So I just wanted to make sure that I brought it up again, just for those of you that could be dealing with this, or maybe this is just good information. So that way you make sure that you don't do this to your kids, or maybe you want to make sure that your parents aren't doing this to you, or maybe this is for a friend, so just keep that in mind. So, the different types of parentification that I had looked up was the emotional parentification, and there's also what was the other one? Instrumental parentification. So I wrote this down. I wanted to make sure that I didn't forget anything. So just be mindful. And by the way, my name is Joy, and I am a narcissist abuse coach. I've been dealing with narcissists since 2006, and since 2017, I've been helping people heal, move on, and recover after dealing with narcissistic abuse. And just a heads up, if you see me going like this, it could mean like it's just a fly, And then, like I said, I have my mask on just to keep safe out here, so I'm all is well. So anyway, in regards to parentification, basically this happens when the child becomes the parent, and then the parent becomes the child. The roles reverse. It's really not fair, and it's not something that should actually happen. But unfortunately, in toxic, negative, dysfunctional households, we do find a lot of that happening. So, in regards to emotional parentification, this is basically when a child is expected to fulfill the parent's emotional needs and to provide support, and so essentially what this does to the child. And by the way, I'm not saying you can't support your mom or your dad, or your old your parents, like even if you, let's say, you moved out on your own. It's not to say that you cannot support them at all, but it's all about having boundaries. It's all about being assertive, and it's all about doing what's best for you, maintaining your mental health, good mental health, right? And just being at peace within yourself, and not being involved in any drama, any havoc, any chaos, and stuff like that, right? Excuse me. So, in regards to this, some examples of emotional parentification are, basically when the parent will pile, and they're going to be served as a mediator, especially when their parents have arguments, and they're expected to listen, and they're also expected to provide advice for the parents' problems, when meanwhile that is actually something that the parents should be doing themselves, or they should not be including the children. Or maybe when you were young, maybe this happened to you. That shouldn't have not happened, but it did. So that was a violation of your rights as being a child. um and I think that's another thing as to why maybe some people may not want to grow up. Like, some people could want to be like a kid forever because they felt like they was robbed of their childhood, they was robbed of their innocence due to having narcissistic mothers or fathers, or just toxic, dysfunctional, unhealthy family members. So because in a sense you were forced to grow up maybe at a very, very young age, maybe like 9 or 10 or 11, and you feel like you missed out on your childhood. So now you're an adult, you're like, okay, I'm going to be a child for the rest of my life, because I never got to experience that. I don't know what that's like, so you just want to be mindful of that. But anyways, so basically, you know so this can also be where the child, or the young adult, will witness a parent hurt themselves or hurt others, or they could actually be physically abusing you, or again, other people. It could be siblings, it could be aunts, it could be uncles, it could be cousins, it could be other in-laws, distant family, cousins, friend of the family, blah blah blah. um and then also, So you kind of have that going on in regards to, emotional parentification. Now, when we talk a little bit about instrumental um, parentification, is more so, basically you're giving physical tasks um, by your parent that is not age appropriate. So let's say at a very, very young age, maybe you were told that you had to clean very young, or maybe you were told that you had to take care of other siblings when meanwhile you're still a child, you know. You had to take care of a sick relative and you're like 9 or 10 years old. It's like, how do you do that being a child? You know what I'm saying? Maybe you were even forced to take care of your parents at a very, very young age. And not saying that you can't do that as they get older. Like, yes, take care of your parents, because they took care of us. But again, there's boundaries. There's a need for personal space. There's a need to have a sense of identity, a sense of self. But again, when you're dealing with toxic, negative, narcissistic family members, they refuse to give you your sense of self. They don't want you to have a sense of self because that's a threat to their identity and a threat to their cult. So the other thing is, when it comes to instrumental parentification, is also, you having to pay the bills in the house at a very young age. Maybe you have to cook, maybe you have to do some grocery shopping, maybe again you have to do certain cleaning things, or you know excuse me, you know, at a very, very young age and stuff like that. And maybe, you know, some people could have different opinions about it, but maybe they're like forcing you to go down a certain path, or maybe they're like, hey, maybe the parent is like, okay, I want to start this business. And then they're like, okay, son or daughter, you have to do this. You don't have a choice. It's like they're forcing you to do stuff that you don't want to do, you know. And stuff like that. And by the way, I do want to just go over the parentification subject. What it is basically, again, where, it's a role reversal. And I got this on Google. So if you want to read more on it, definitely take a look. But it's, again, the role reversal is the process of whereby a child or adolescent is obligated to act as a parent to their own parent or sibling. So that's basically what it is in a nutshell. And I explained it earlier, but so that's what we have going on in regards to instrumental and emotional parentification. Now, if there are any other parentifications, I'm gonna let you guys know and keep you posted. And if you know of any, please feel free to share. It would all help all of us. Now, I will just tell you guys this. Thank God I did not have to deal with parentification. But now I feel that as I've gotten older, I felt that it was some things that was kind of starting to turn out, maybe um I don't mention names, but maybe one parent probably tried to like do that, but it obviously didn't work. But you just want to be careful that as your parents get older, not all, but some of them become toxic, some of them become dysfunctional, they become negative, they become cynical, they become pessimistic, and a lot of them become depressed. Some of them feel like failures, like they haven't accomplished anything. And so you have this young spirit, and you're just have a different type of mindset. You have a positive outlook, you have hope for the future. And your parent may not like that, and they may try to like hold you back and saying like, oh, you have to take care of me, or oh, you have to do this around the house, and I need you, I can't do this without you. Might want to try to make you feel guilty and stuff. So you just want to be mindful of the manipulation and the fear, the guilt, and the obligation that maybe some of us parents, or maybe it is your parent, or maybe it's like your partner's parent that could be doing this, or maybe it's a friend's parent, and maybe your friend is just venting to you and they don't know what it's called. So maybe this is a video you can share with them. Excuse me. So you may want to know what are the effects. And it's funny, I actually did find a positive effect, so I'll get to that in a second. But let's talk about the negatives first. So basically, some of the negative effects of parentification it could cause the child to feel like they didn't have a childhood. So now in their adulthood, they are behaving as a child, and it's like they're refusing to grow up. And also is, and I mentioned this in another video, but they're always looking for a form of acceptance from their parents because they never really got that, or approval, or just love or validation from their parent, because again, they felt like they wasn't accepted, or they felt like something was wrong, or maybe they was ignored, or maybe they was just too busy being a confidant, or maybe they was just too busy giving advice where they couldn't even enjoy, sorry y'all, they could not enjoy their childhood, or maybe they couldn't play, like maybe they had to like work, or maybe they couldn't eat what they wanted when they wanted, maybe they had to wait till they finished work and then they had to eat, or maybe like food was deprived for them and stuff like that, or sleep was deprived for them, or clothes could have been deprived from them, stuff like that, and that's abuse too, and we're going to talk about that in another video actually. um Excuse me, you guys. So the thing with this parentification, again, if you're an adult now, you might have some time trusting, and this just may be period, like a lot of people have trust issues, but building trust not only within yourself but within other people, and also with your family, you know what I'm saying? Because however your dynamic is with your family sets the stage for how the dynamic family is, or the dynamic relationship is going to be with other people. So that's why I always say, the narcissistic mothers have a huge role to play, or mothers period, like, so just if you are a mother, just be mindful that you are being a role model, and that you are behaving in a way where is the right way, or that that you could be proud of, or that God could be proud of. Not saying I'm not a Christian or anything, I'm spiritual, but make just be mindful of how your attitudes are, how your moods are, how you're saying things, how it comes off, and vice versa for the men too. Like, if you're having a bad day, maybe you might want to let a person know, or maybe you might want to release it in a way where it's not hurting anyone else. You see what I'm saying? So yeah. But yeah, some other things, some effects could be, having problems with anger, you know what I'm saying? Emotional regulation. You could have underlying trauma due to this. You could have issues with intimacy, getting close to others. Maybe you could have depression, you could have anxiety, you could have disorders, you could have mental illnesses, and you could also begin to abuse, whether it's drugs, pills, alcohol. Maybe you might have addictions to sex, porn, or spending. Just wasting time, or just being idle, or procrastinating, or just letting life take you by, stuff like that. So you just want to be careful on that. And if you do come in a room, please feel free to chime in. I would love to know your takeaway for whoever comes in the room. And then also, I think it's going to rain, y'all. So it's kind of like sunny. So I wasn't able to see the chat. But I just want to say happy Easter to everybody, whoever comes in the room. But yeah, excuse me. So yeah, we have that going on. And then, but interesting enough, there are some positive effects actually in regards to parentification. So, let's say like your mom and your dad is always venting to you. And there is a difference. Again, if it's negative, it's toxic, that's not positive. But let's say it's like every now and then, maybe it's not all the time, maybe it's like every blue moon, or maybe it's like every year, or maybe it's every couple months, whatever. Some of the things that you could learn, or some skills, is like, how to engage with adults, adult family dynamics, adult family roles. And you could be a really good listener for someone, a good support system for individuals and stuff like that. Maybe people can learn to grow and trust you and like you and love you and stuff like that. But just make sure that you don't misuse that, and you don't misabuse that. You see what I'm saying? So, but yeah, that's basically that. And then just real quick, I just want to touch on enmeshment. And as I said, I did mention it in a previous video. I will link it below. But basically, again, enmeshment is when two or more people, which, the boundaries, there is very unclear. It's permeable, so it's just like you don't know what the boundaries are, you know, um, it's just there's no boundaries at all. And, again, um, the emotions of the people within your family become your emotions, you know. So if someone is having maybe an off day, um within the family dynamic, excuse me, then you're going to have an off day. Or maybe, you know, you could feel responsible for family members emotions, or you feel like, oh, if something happens to a family member, you have to go over there right away, when meanwhile they are a grown adult, you guys, you know. Unless, I mean, if you're in a relationship, that's kind of different. But I mean, if this is a family member and like they have their own life, they have their own house, you know, you shouldn't be responsible for a family member, you know, in that way, unless, you know, depending on the circumstances. Everybody's situation is different. And again, I'm not telling anybody what to do. I'm just saying based off of what I've learned and what has helped me, you know. So but yeah, just be mindful of the parentification and the enmeshment. Now, if you are dealing with this, for some, it might be a thing where maybe you're just used to it, and maybe it can give you this sense of feeling needed, because a lot of us, we do want to feel needed, we want to feel wanted, we want to feel loved, accepted, and approved. um but you know, just be mindful of it, and maybe, you know, there's other ways of getting your needs met, instead of, you know, always being at the beck and call of like family members. And I'm not saying don't be there for family, you know, because family is everything, right, to a certain degree. Because me, I have a different opinion on that, but that's for another topic. But um some family members can use that against you, you know. And some family members, um I don't know, they just can get so caught up in the toxic, dysfunctional drama, and yeah, just kind of forget about, you know, family's supposed to stick together, family's supposed to build each other up, make each other happy, be a support system, not talk down on each other, not start gossip, not start drama, not lie on one another, not spread rumors and false accusations against one another, you know, and stuff like that, and trying to sabotage each other and competing with each other. You know, it's kind of chaotic, you know. So um you know, just if anything, again, make sure that you get support, you reach out for help. And the other thing is, again, keeping your distance. Maybe there is a conversation that you may want to have with certain family members, and then others, maybe, again, it could just be where you cannot come to a compromise, where you just have to decide that hey, they're set in their ways, it is what it is, I'm gonna do me, let them do them, and just love people from a distance, be kind and compassionate from a distance. But you know, and it's not saying that they're bad people, but it's just, it's not in alignment for, you know, the path that you're going on in your life, and on the journey that you have and that God has for you. So the path that, the plan that God has for your life, you know. So anyway, I hope that this video was helpful and made sense. Make sure to give this video a like, share, and subscribe. I would love to know, what was your takeaway, what was your feedback, what you learned the most, what you enjoyed, and what was insightful for you the most. Yeah, and also, as I always say, if you guys would like to be supported by me in any way, that information is going to be in the description box, whether it's a support session or reading, inquiry about my 90-day coaching program. Don't forget, you guys, be sure to sign up for my 90-day coaching program. The registration is still open. And also, too, you guys, I don't know if I mentioned this, but you actually do, if you sign up this week, we're doing a special discount. You get 10% off of the sale price. So if you would like to learn more, make sure that you send me an email after watching this live. Because the other thing in regards to, you know, dealing with parentification and enmeshment, a lot of that stems from the CPTSD. So, you know, again, when you're around toxic, negative, narcissistic family members, or relationships, or friends, or even work environments, you're going to develop CPTSD, you guys. And again, it's the triggers, it's the flashbacks, it's the withdrawals, it's the relapses that gets a lot of us, you know, because the event has already happened, whatever the traumatic event has happened. And then the other part is that for some of us, we may still have these traumatic events, these traumatic circumstances, or people, places, and things, and it's still traumatizing us. So it's just, it's become complex at this point, where it's just like, okay, trauma after trauma after trauma, it just keeps going over and over and over again, you know. And so it never stops. And so you just want to make sure that you're able to cope, and you're able to deal with the trauma that you're facing and that comes at you. Sorry, you guys. that comes at you constantly or daily or whenever you're dealing with your narcissist or the co-parenting situation. So if you would like to learn more, go ahead and send me an email after this video. I would love to send you that information. um, and it's all about collective healing, right? So anyway, I love you guys. I will see you all in the next video. Take care. I love you so much. Bye.